So I can't really get into depth on Cliff High's work because I've not been given the go-ahead to do that, but I do want to make some general comments about that and many other things in some sense, but I'll try to keep it condensed. The kind of essence, what I find in Cliff High's more recent work, is this kind of almost cloud atlas presentation where, there's this kind of sense of new languages forming, kind of metaphoric languages, that kind of, he's calling it, I mentioned this in a previous video, it's kind of outsmarting the bots that are kind of censoring people on social media and so forth, right? So you have usage of, phrases of those corporations to kind of express these higher level concepts in some important sense to get attention from social media. It's quite interesting, and I might do that with this. Gotta think about it though. But so that's one element, and then you got hyper technologies and these sorts of things, where indeed, if he's actually right about this, we kind of move into sort of cyberpunkish arenas in some important sense, and that suggests to me at least that there is a transition of values. I've spoken about this many times, that indeed there's some categorical, some ability to categorize value systems, and that there's a novel value system emerging. I call it the coral bee meme, and that is in essence one of consolidation, and I think from my perspective on this, after deep research, one of the primary things it seems to be able to do is bring into existence what I call the second tier. And if this is the case, then there's something of a fractal pattern, perhaps, in the nature of existence as we move through the process of life and evolution in some sense, and that we have to face the existential threats of a planet in disarray in some important sense. So adapting to those flux and flows situations, that's a yellow V meme attitude, but coral can help consolidate those exponential thinkers in some important sense, where the consolidators tend to be a little bit more slow moving, and there's a sense perhaps, and this is maybe a downside to the coral system in my opinion, a lot of it has to do with power, like the power of the first tier red system in my opinion. So we would probably see, and I think we're already seeing it through cryptocurrencies, funneling through cryptocurrencies, and probably eventually through new kind of anarchic governance structures through that system. These sorts of people having a great deal of control over the destiny of our civilization, and in that sense, these particular people are consolidating our future, but it comes with some serious downsides, I think. But that's just the nature of it. This is challenging times, and that seems to be, perhaps, if this is an accurate reading of the flowing of our civilization, then it needs to kind of happen, in my opinion. The old control, hierarchical, Bonita, I forget her last name, she calls this kind of the blue church. And the blue church is this idea of hierarchic control mechanisms, and we see it in the McLuhanian sense, where our televisions were not allowing deep feedback between viewer and presenter, so there's this authoritarian relationship with pretty much all broadcast media up to the early 21st century. But with the internet, we see a switch in that. Things become interactive. Now we're living in an interactive age, and we are to participate in the creation of new memes and new thinking realities. And this, in my fractal system, fits with the idea of the green as a fractal of a higher order system, where indeed the individuals are in an information matrix, and they are participating in that in a kind of non-dual situation in our media matrix, if that makes sense. That hooks into with other thoughts too, but that's roughly speaking the dynamic that I see we're moving into, if that makes any sense. Okay, a little bit complicated, be well.